So F1 is back in our lives at last, about 2 weeks after he had a rather thrilling race and, in the words of one Lewis Hamilton, an iconic podium. We're back, this time in Austria, because now the European leg gets underway in earnest. In fact, you're going to have back-to-back race weeks, so yay us and everyone else who enjoys the sport. So, hey guys, it's me, Shane, and Gargi with you guys once again. We're going to break down, well, what is it that we're going to look forward to in this particular race. And, well, you were saying something, sorry.
Yeah, so we're getting underway with the Austrian GP this weekend, and we're all excited for it because F1 Sprint is coming into play again. And of course, when we talk about the top 3 teams, Mercedes, Red Bull and Aston Martin, we have a lot to look forward to because there's been a lot of speculation around Aston Martin being faster than Red Bulls in the simulators. And remember, we talked about this and we have a video on it as well, that Aston Martin is coming in with those new downforce air
the plenty of upgrades they're coming up with.
Yeah, they're coming up with a lot of upgrades when it comes to the downforce, and they're using the cognizant AI for it.
Yes, correct.
And well, I think it's doing wonders for them. Let's see what happens at the Austrian GP. Well, they had kind of specified that they would start, launching these upgrades from the European legs and European leg.
Yeah, just one leg.
Not multiple.
No multiple legs, either way.
So the European leg is here and we're all excited to see what Aston Martin has in tow.
Exactly, because if you remember in Canada, they were quite clearly the second best car. I mean, Mercedes had that, let's say, down pat in Spain. Then came Canada and the Astons with that new upgrade look much faster. So really, if you ignore, and this is a big caveat, that if you ignore just how dominant that Red Bull has been, you now have these 2 teams in the race, and we can't forget Ferrari, who actually did pretty decently in Canada. For once, they didn't mess up a strategy. And on top of that, both of their cars finished in the points, which is a big plus, given Lance Stroll didn't finish in the points for Aston Martin, and George Russell also ended up not, of course, he had to retire his car. So, again, you'd remember the 2, 3 and 4 in the Constructors' Championship is very close right now. So, I think, again, you're going to see a big battle between these 3 teams. Of course, Red Bull are going to be favourites for obvious reasons. 1, they have the quickest car. 2, this has traditionally been one of those circuits, the Ostrich Ring, to call it its actual name, or to give it its modern name, the Red Bull Ring, because it's owned by them. It's been one of those circuits where they are really strong. In fact, if I remember correctly, even in 21, which for my mind is probably one of those really exciting seasons where, I remember circuit to circuit, the advantage would change. And Red Bull, they had 2 races there that year. You had, of course, the Styrian Grand Prix and the Austrian Grand Prix, same circuit. They were rockets. They were not being caught. And this was still at a time when Mercedes were competitive. So I'm really, I dread wondering what exactly Max Verstappen would be up to. But speaking of Verstappen, I think his teammate is going to be feeling the pressure to put in a big performance, especially when you consider all the rumors swirling.
Yes, over the past 2 weekends, there have been a lot of talks about Checo and Danny Rick and Nick De Vries. There's been just a lot of, I mean, the F1 community is in shambles right now when we look at it, because Helmut Marko has been saying that they have Daniel Ricciardo on standby when it comes to Checo, and Checo is not in a great place right now because he has underperformed when you look at it, and I think he was good at the beginning of the season, and then kind of, the slope went down for Checo Perez. But there's also talks about Daniel Ricciardo joining AlphaTauri or joining Red Bull as well if Checo fails to perform in the rest of the season. So it's going to be a very important race for Checo as well. So let's see what happens. But he has a rocket of a car. He has the skills. He just has to back himself and finish in the quali.
Finish in Q3 for a change.
Finish in Q3.
Maybe be up even in the top 5. Because again, Austria is one of those tracks, I think if I'm not wrong, it has 3 DRS zones. 3 DRS zones, plenty of straights. We know that Red Bull's a rocket on the straights. I think this would be one of those tracks where they would be really strong. If Perez needs a good performance, he couldn't have probably asked for a better track than this one.
Exactly. I think it will all come down to first the sprint, because yay, extra points. And also then finishing in the quali in the right places. The first 5, you're good because you have a good car. You can overtake those Mercedes and those Aston Martins. So really, I think it's a great, opportunity for Checo Perez to kind of come in and do a good comeback, because we I want Checo Perez to do well.
I want some competition, even if it's between both cars. Right now, you're getting nothing.
Both Red Bulls.
Yes, both of the same team. Both cars of the same team. Give me that also. I'm fine with it. I can live with it. I live with it for 3 years. Right now, you're getting nothing. It's like Max running away. The other three are fighting for it, and it's like, okay, you're not focusing on the race in front. You're like, oh wait, Lewis is catching Alonso. Oh, Alonso is catching Lewis. Oh, Charles getting in there. Where's Max? Oh, he's well ahead of everyone. Doesn't matter. But I think, yeah, that's the thing. Checo needs a big one. And of course, if we're looking at the midfield teams, hard to mention, of course, but before we get to them, of course, we are talking about AlphaTauri, Nick De Vries, another one under immense pressure.
Yes.
Rookie season's been poor. He's been comprehensively outperformed by Yuki Tsunoda, who, by the way, was probably always seen as one of those drivers who was fast but erratic. He's been consistently, I'll give Yuki credit, on what's probably the weakest car on the grid. He's been actually putting in some really good performances, got a number of 11th place finishes, just below the points, couple of points finishes.
He's been doing well in quali as well.
Yes, that raw pace really coming good. De Vries, on the other hand, has struggled. In fact, if you're talking about Helmut Marko and starting fires, he recently said on one podcast that Christian Horner had reservations over De Vries, and so far he's been proved right. Ouch!
That's not going to be good for Nick, because you're a rookie driver. This is the place for you to. This is the time for you to make a place for yourself in the F1 grid. But when something like this, happens at the very beginning of your career, it's very hard to come back from, because how many drivers have you seen that have gone out in their rookie years, come back again?
Very few. If you don't make it in your first rookie year, that stamp kind of goes. So unless it's another smaller team, and truth be told, I don't see too many of the smaller teams having a vacancy right now either. So
no, because there are already so many people, so many drivers that are lying idle, that have not retired yet. Someone like
Mick Schumacher is on the sidelines. Someone who's very young.
And
would have more of an upside. Yeah, he'd have more of an upside than someone like, say, a De Vries.
So there is threat for Nick De Vries. And when we talk about the middle
teams, the midfield teams.
The midfield teams.
Teams.
No, not the midfield teams.
Not the midfield teams, but teams. Well, the two which have been in the news this weekend for very different reasons. Let's first get to McLaren, because they have a big upgrade coming, and we've done a separate talk on that as well. You can check that out. It's there on the channel. But I think this is going to be a key weekend for them, because if that upgrade doesn't hit the ground running, they have pinned everything on that upgrade.
Yeah, I was up reading this article about Zach Brown talking about it, of course, and Andrea Stella has talked about it. So they're basically making a whole fundamental redesign of the car. And at this point, it's like so much of a redesign that it's almost a B-spec car. And these upgrades are so large and so multiple in quantity, that they have to kind of use 3 different races to kind of implement these upgrades in parcels. So Austria will be one, and also Zach Brown talked about very interesting point over there, that when asked about what happened with the car in the past couple years and why they had this downfall sort of thing, he said that they were having driver related problems, and that's why they couldn't sort of focus on the car, which
poor Daniel Ricciardo.
Sounds like an excuse to me also. Danny did not have anything to do with.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if it was directed at Danny or.
Couldn't have been at Lando. He was outperforming that car, poor guy.
Yeah, he was. He really was. But
still is really.
Yeah, that's not a good look for Zach.
It's not. I mean, especially when you consider that he does have a reputation of normally being a pretty decent chap. So saying something like that seemed unreasonable, but this upgrade, it's pretty important to them really, because again, they're kind of languishing in the midfield right now, and it's constantly getting worse. You know why? Because they're in competition with another team in Alpine, who recently got a fresh, let's say, injection of funds. You've had Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, who of course a lot of you would know as Hollywood stars, but also who own a very small football club in Wales called Wrexham, who only recently got promoted from non-league to like the 5th division of European football. So they have they've they managed to accomplish that thanks to some shrewd, let's say, strategy and good investment of funds. Alpine are about $200 million richer, And that would, of course, that's a lot of money when you consider, the budget cap in itself is about 130 mil. So that's a good injection of funds. Alpine, another team who have kind of been making good progress, but unfortunately have been leapfrogged by a team like Aston Martin, who shot up. Now suddenly it's looking like, oh, that 4-year plan or 3-year plan or 100 race plan or whatever the hell plan, all of it has gone out the window because suddenly Aston Martin made a jump like that. And you're thinking, no, I need to be doing something similar. So these two teams, I think it's going to be a big weekend for them as well if you're talking about the midfield sides, how it is their drivers do. And if you ask me personally, I like the Alpine driver lineup. Ocon's a criminally underrated driver. Gasly, I think for the past 2-3 years has proved that he's probably one of the best midfield drivers. Yeah, he was really good. In fact, especially 2021, I think he got the nickname of Mr. P6 because he was always finishing there, whether it be in qualifying or race. But I think they need to get their act together, both these teams. Let's see how it goes for both of them. But okay, shock prediction for the weekend if you just had to make one. Because don't forget, there's a sprint also. So this week the format's going to be very complicated. You're going to have qualifying on Friday, then the sprint, then qualifying for the race. All of that is going to be happening.
Okay, I think Max, Checo and Alonso.
That's going to be a podium.
Yeah.
I'm going for iconic podium 2.0.
Which is,
I think it'll be Max, it'll be Lewis and Alonso. That order.
Boring.
No, but that's what it's going to be, I think. Let's see. We don't know. You guys can let us know what your predictions are for the race, whether you're excited for it or not in the comments. And don't forget, like, share, subscribe, and tap that bell icon. And also don't forget to
download the SportsTech app.
Absolutely. Also follow us across socials and stay tuned for more such videos. Right now, though, from Gargi and me, it's goodbye.